Hi guys, I'm Jessica and this is Yoga for Beginners, and today I wanted to put out a little video on what happens to our spine as we age and why traditional yoga classes may actually be doing more harm to you than good. So let me explain. I see a lot of clients, and lately I've seen a lot more of these clients because they come to me, they've got back pain, back issues, lots of back conditions, and I do specialize in helping clients who are experiencing a lot of pain in their back and a lot of stiffness. And they're going to the doctor, and the doctors are giving them these terms to tell them why their back is hurting. And they're throwing out terms like spondylosis or spondylolysis or spondylolisthesis or spinal stenosis. So if you get a diagnosis like this from your doctor, first of all, don't panic. These are things that some of them are normal, and they do happen with age. So what this is, let me back up and tell you all about what these things are. So as we age, now I've got two little mugs to demonstrate. If you will, imagine that these are your vertebrae, and the vertebrae are stacked on top of each other, and they've got like a little disc inside, in between each vertebrae. So if you're looking at your spine, just imagine, because I didn't have anything else to explain off the top of my head. So imagine that this is the back of the spine, the little spinal process that sticks out towards the back. And then if you're looking at the spine from the front, this would be the front. So we've got our spine, we've got our vertebrae, and in between each vertebrae, there's a little disc that keeps them apart. And that little disc is made of a little gel substance. And over time, as we age, this gel substance starts to dry out. Now, it's a totally normal thing. It's just what happens when our body ages. So this term is called spondylosis, when the disc starts to dry out and the vertebrae become closer together. Now, also another condition that you'll get is around the edge of the vertebrae, in between, the top of this one or the bottom of this one, they will start to calcify. It becomes arthritis, just like if you had arthritis in another joint, like your knee or your wrist. It's a little bit of calcification. So if you can imagine, all the nerves that run through your spine, this calcification, even just a tiny, tiny bit of it, is going to start to press against the other bones and the nerves around it, creating inflammation and pain. So as the vertebrae start to get closer together, this is a condition called spondylosis, when they start to get closer together and they start to get calcification. Now, another issue that happens on top of that, because of that, it can happen with age, or it can happen, in other rare instances, it can happen from trauma or an illness like a tumor or something around there that's kind of pressing against it. But spondylolysis happens after spondylosis. This is the advanced stage of that. What happens there is you start to actually get a stress fracture around the part of the vertebrae where the spinal process sticks out in the back. So you get a stress fracture because the bones are now pressing closer together, and they are, as movement happens, if you're back bending, you're starting to press the spinal processes together, and you're starting to create wear and tear, and that can lead to that little stress fracture. So that even causes more pain. Anytime you have any type of fracture, any type of bone break, it causes more pain. This will heal over time. It does take a while to heal, but it can be very painful in the process. There's things that you can do to make it feel better. We'll get to that. The second to last thing I want to show you is something we call spondylolisthesis. So spondylolisthesis is when you've got your vertebrae and you've gone through spondylosis, your bones are starting to get closer together and they're starting to calcify around the edges, and then you get that spondylolysis, which happens on that little stress fracture on the back. Then the bones are kind of right, on top of each other, and then you may have one vertebrae slipping in front of the other. So this is called spondylolisthesis. And what happens when you have this, it causes an immense amount of pain, and especially if you're doing things like back bending. So imagine if you're back bending like this, and this vertebrae is pressing into the other vertebrae. I'm going to actually flip this over to show you even better. See, I've got bone on bone, and then I've got bone pressing into bone. So if I'm bending back, I am creating more stress in between these two bones. So it's making the condition worse and worse and worse. Additionally, if I am rotating and I've got bone on bone and any type of movement this direction with the vertebrae, and I'm twisting, like we often do in yoga class, something just simple like this is going to put a tremendous amount of stress on those vertebrae. So this can actually make the condition worse. Now, another thing that happens in addition to these three issues, so it's spondylosis, and then it's spondylolysis, and then it may progress to spondylolisthesis, where you've got the bone slipping out. Now, stenosis, spinal stenosis, is something that happens when the vertebrae starts to calcify, and then it starts to create bone spurs. So these bone spurs, little bumps of bone that grow on the vertebrae, and they can press into the spinal nerve. And that is really painful. Now, if you've got spinal stenosis, back bending is completely out of the question. You do not want to do that to your spine at all. So if you go to a yoga class and you don't know that you have this condition, you just know that you're aging, you're maybe over 40 years old, 45 years old, and you start to get back pain, it's because of one of these four things. Now, if you've got stenosis, that's something that you want to be very careful. You can create stability around that area of pain, but you're not going to make that go away without surgery. So by the age of 60, 90% of the population has spondylosis. So that's that very first condition of calcification around the edge of the vertebrae. And then it just kind of spirals from there. So doctors go, oh, you've got this is what's causing your pain. And then you go, oh no, I've got these conditions in my back. I'm just screwed. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have to, sit in a wheelchair for the rest of my days, and I guess I'll just be rocking back and forth on my porch with a shawl around my neck. That's not the case. So what you want to do is you want to strengthen your abdominal muscles. You want to strengthen your core, not just your abdominal muscles. So you want to strengthen here, you want to strengthen your hips, you want to strengthen your pelvic floor, you want to strengthen your neck, all of the muscles that support the spine. And you want to avoid things that are going to aggravate that condition. So you're going to avoid back bending, you're going to avoid twisting, you're going to avoid lifting up, because if you're lifting up, so let me back up here. You'll want to avoid lifting up if you've got any of these conditions in your lower back. And additionally too, I guess, if you have it in your spine, your cervical spine. So let me back up and tell you where you may have one of these conditions. So there's three parts of this, actually there's 5 parts of the spine, but we're going to talk about the 3 parts of vertebrae. So we've got the cervical vertebrae, there's 7 of these up here, and then we've got the 12 thoracic vertebrae. They go from about here to here, and then we've got the lumbar vertebrae down here. So if you get one of these conditions of spondylosis, spondylolysis, spondylolisthesis, that's going to happen in either your cervical vertebrae up here in the back of your neck, causing neck pain, or in your lower lumbar spine, causing lower back pain. So either of those you want to avoid bending back. But if you have it in your lumbar spine and you're doing things like reaching up, you're bending back and pressing into that part of the back. So that's something that you want to avoid. Now, you avoid these things until you start to really build up your core muscles and the pain starts to dissipate. And I don't recommend, taking advice from a yoga teacher such as myself. Get advice from your doctor. Get advice from a physical therapist. But as supportive action, you can do yoga in a therapeutic way. So you can do yoga in a way that is going to help your condition. So I really think that all I wanted to do with this video is just let you know that it's not a sentence of, being crippled for life and pain for life. It is something that you can work through. I do have a few clients that are going through these things right now, and we are making huge progress in the reduction of pain and management of their conditions. But it is something that you don't want to just jump into a yoga class, like a vinyasa yoga class. Those classes are great, they're fun, they do build muscle, but you are going to encounter a lot of movement and a lot of movements that you should not be doing. So talk to somebody who is going to give you private sessions and somebody who knows about these conditions. And if you are a yoga teacher and this is the first time you're ever hearing about these conditions, please feel free to contact me. I would love to help you out and do some training with you. I am going to be putting a training together in the future for that. But I also, really encourage clients, yoga students, to go out and invest in private sessions. This is going to be the best thing for you, and it's going to help you rather than hurt you, as maybe a regular yoga class would do. So there is hope for you if you've got any of these conditions. And it is terrible if you're suffering with spinal conditions and you've got lots of pain. It is debilitating, and it's very frustrating. It's very, you can kind of feel hopeless when you are faced with all of this pain every day that you didn't used to have. You can kind of feel like a prisoner in your own body, but there is a way to manage the pain. So if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. You can email me. It's yogaforbeginnersorlando@gmail.com. It's yoga, the number 4, beginnersorlando@gmail.com. Or you can take a look at my website, www.yogaforbeginnersorlando.com, and send me a message. Let me know what I can do to help you. I do private sessions personally and virtually, so please feel free to reach out. I hope that helped. I hope that was maybe shining a little bit of light on a problem that you may have and didn't know that there was help for. And so I really hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Namaste.